very good morning and welcome to this edition of Morning Cafe, this being Friday, 6th of October, 2023. Ni weekend imefika. My name is Fred Ndimuli. How hot is the coffee where you are?
And I'm Flora Limuki, and welcome to Morning Cafes. And this edition of Morning Cafe, there's Entertainment Friday. It is a feel-good Friday, and definitely you have to stick by for that music coming your way a little bit later. And much more, including interviews with artists and Mr. UAA. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm.
Oh, yes. Now, music truly standing in Ringita. One particular interesting bit. Well, it's a Friday, so Bunce is coming along, our whole queue of Friday. But this particular day is quite interesting because all our guests are women. Talking about women in leadership and the whole impact that women are really having in our society. You definitely want to stick around for all that particular details. But first, let's take a look at our highlights this morning.
And we kick off with the first highlight of the day. President Ruto kicks off a 4-day official tour of Raila Odinga's backyard of Nyanza region, where he is expected to launch projects in Kisumu, Homa Bay, Siaya, and Migori counties.
Government deploys a contingent of specialized police units to contain the escalating violence in Sondu town along Kericho-Kisumu border that has led to loss of lives and destruction of property in recent weeks.
And across the borders, NBA legend Michael Jordan reaches new milestone as the first professional athlete to be ranked among America's 400 wealthiest people, with an estimated net worth is $3 billion.
And you see that highlight about Michael Jordan, if at all, going by the current US dollar to shilling rate, if at all he was Kenyan, he would be able to pay at least, he can afford a rough $500 billion shillings.
Right.
That's what he's worth. He can pay off at least a good chunk of our debt.
Our debt, absolutely.
Yes.
Even without
like a third of it.
Oh yes, even without taxes. He feels nothing. Anyway, let's take a look at the top story this morning. President William Ruto today embarks on a 4-day official tour of the Nyanza region, which will culminate in the launching of various development projects in Kisumu, Homa Bay, Siaya, and Migori counties. In Kisumu, President Ruto will commission the groundbreaking of the 1 billion shilling Kabonyo Regional Fisheries and Aquaculture Center of Excellence in Nyando constituency. He will also commission the Lake Basin Mall, launch the Koru Bible College Road, as well as the MV Uhuru 2, a ship that will operate on Lake Victoria and enhance transport and trade in the region. He will also have other activities in the other counties of Homa Bay, Siaya, and Migori. Now, the visit comes amid calls for the government to intervene in containing clashes in Sondu at the border of Kisumu and Kericho counties that have so far claimed 7 lives. Well, yes, and that's the top story this morning. Let's now take a look at the day's diary before we delve into the dailies.
Okay, and what we expect to be happening today is the bipartisan talks to resume in Bomas of Kenya today from 9 a.m. And that is the National Dialogue Committee will be reconvening at Bomas to plan for the next course of action after the completion of the public hearings that have been going on for the last few days. And President William Ruto's tour of the Nyanza region kickstarts today, the 4-day tour, as he starts off with Kisumu counties and Siaya County. Well, he's expected to launch quite a number of development projects there, among other things that are supposed to be going on there. And away from that, the National Assembly Select Committee on Public Petitions will visit the NHIF's headquarters to, among other issues, seek answers on the poor implementation of education afya scheme in public secondary schools. And among the issues the committee will be seeking clarifications include the NHIF anonogram of the education afya scheme management, tender evaluations, advertisements, and details of contractors, and also the matrix on fraud containment per county since its inception, and also analysis of premium payments per county, the data of the service providers. And away from that, we also expect Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua to address governors during the Intergovernmental Budget Economic Council meeting, of course, this coming after the re-election of the Council of Governors leaders, and Anne Waiguru, there is the governor of Kirinyaga County, was re-elected as the COG chairperson while being deputized by the Wajir governor. Well, that is what we have on the diary this morning, and of course we keep on updating you as we move on with the show. Time now to look at the dailies.
Oh yes, and this morning we can actually begin with the Star. But before I actually begin, we begin the dailies. My proverb for this particular day, I told you we'll be having women on the round table and also the guests, and one particular live from Dubai as well. So this particular proverb says, a woman is never old when it comes to the dance she knows. A woman is never old when it comes to the dance she knows. Think about it this Friday morning. But then as we dive in on the Star, the big story on the Star is why Ruto's reshuffle is a warning shot to CSs. It definitely goes on to say, pundits say move triggered by president's warning. Trust is, warning trust in the performance of some of his ministers. More on page 4 and 5. And just below there, they have a photo of President William Ruto. And I'm trying to get who that is. Okay, well, basically some of the delegates that attended in State House, and goes on to say NCPB to buy maize at 4,000 Kenyan shillings a bag. On the right side of the Star, matters education, schools closed, or rather not education but security, schools closed as Sondu clashes, death toll rises to 7. The tension at border. Well, that is on page 2. Still on the right side of the Star, tragedy, Tanzanian woman found dead in her Kileleshwa house. And other stories making it to the Star, UK amnesty boss on why Kenya Haiti adventure may fall. In the inside pages of the Siasa pullout, things fall apart why Gachagua is uneasy with Sakaja. So in that particular pullout you get Gachagua and Sakaja explosion. Months later, that explosion goes on. That is on the Star this morning.
Okay, from the Star, let's take a look at, let's go to the Nation now. And on the Daily Nation this morning, end of the honeymoon, and it's a question they're asking on the front page of the Daily Nation. The message to those who care to listen is that they are now on their own. Now, this is a warning shot. President William Ruto's surprise move to demote some of his loyalists in Wednesday night's cabinet reshuffle has been seen as a signal that no one is indispensable in his administration. And head of statesmen yesterday said their boss would not hesitate to sack those who fail to deliver on his government's promises. And the story is extensively covered on pages 6 and 7 of the Daily Nation. Faces there of some of the CSs who are deemed to have been demoted. Of course, Moses Kuria there, among those who are said to have lost out: Alfred Mutua, Babu Namwamba, Zakaria Njeru, Penina Malonza, and the other gentleman there. Can't even see his name clearly.
That's,
the other story given prominence on the front page of the Daily Nation this morning is at the bottom. Telkom, questions linger of a mystery Emirati farm. 6 billion shillings is the amount in question. The sale of Telkom Kenya continues to generate a lot of debate. Other stories highlighted on the front page: Kenyans made 130 million reverse calls in a year, says Safaricom. Watu watafute credit wapige simu. And
are you trying to reverse call someone?
No. I usually make my calls direct.
Should I say? Should I say how many times you have reversed calls?
Do you even have a phone?
Oh.
Other highlights on the front page of the Daily Nation. Daily Nation this Friday: Pope makes call for renewable energy. Elsewhere, secrets of President's personal doctor. There's a book serialization of President's doctor. I think this is a doctor who took care of the late President Moi. Elsewhere, clashes, elite police squad sent to Sondu. And maize wheat imports ban relief for farmers. These are the stories making it to the front page of the Daily Nation this Friday.
Well, let's have a look at the Standard. The headline on the Standard this morning is, okay, there you have it. Had questions in a Telkom Kenya sale. The Treasury CS Njuguna Ndung'u announcement that a strategic partner has been formed to take over Telkom Kenya as majority shareholders opened a Pandora's box on how the government conducted the business. And that story there is on page 8 of the Standard this morning. 60% is the number of shares of what is the program has informed to use the firm in Telkom in the company expected to inject capital and pay some liabilities to the telco there. And on the top strip of the Standard, TSC fits top tutors in World Teachers' Day. That was commemorated yesterday. And away from that, race for US Speaker hot up in the US after the Speaker Kevin McCarthy there was ousted. And still on the Standard, tribal clashes rock Ruto's Nyanza tour, even as the president now kickstarts his tour of the Nyanza region today. That story is on page 5. They said president is expected to tour the region for 4 days. In the fight dog has highlighted for the visit, with leaders calling for immediate arrest of perpetrators and return to normalcy in Sondu. That story there is on page 5 of the Standard this morning. And still on the Standard, why hoarding dollars will soon be a crime. That story also, you'll find it on the Standard. And on the lower strip of the Standard, unity calls rise in Mount Kenya after reshuffle. Now leaders from the region say the signs are imminent that they continue squabbling. They might lose big in government. And pictured there is the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, Moses Kuria, Alice Wahome, and Rebecca Miano. Yeah, that is what's headlining on the Standard this morning.
And still in Kenya, taking a look at Business Daily now, goes with the top headline: Kuria era imports taxes drag manufacturing to 6-year low. Goes on to say that GDP expands 5.4% in Q2, that is second quarter, from 5.2% on agriculture. And also imported food bill went up by 27.2 billion Kenyan shillings to 94.4 billion Kenyan shillings. Other stories on the Business Daily, just below it: Safaricom stake in Kenyan economy nears 1 trillion Kenyan shillings. And well, they have a whole graph there on jobs sustained by Safaricom. On the right side, that ticker there, experts want taxpayers registered at birth. So basically, tax experts have recommended a single lifetime identifier for all potential taxpayers to help KRA maximize its collection potential. And traffic nightmare shifts to Nairobi Expressway. Daily traffic on the Nairobi Expressway has shot up by nearly 40% this year as more vehicles avoid the congested Mombasa Road and Waiyaki Way, shifting the traffic pain to the double-decker road that has seen motorists get stuck at exit points. And in matters companies, Emirati firm buying top stake in Telkom shrouded in mystery. So the Cell Telkom Kenya continues to lurch from one controversy to the next, following revelations that the company will now buy a 60% stake did not have any online presence until last month. Interesting. Top there, in matters intelligence, an opinion by Jaindi Kizero, the bar, quote-unquote, for Telkom sale has been lowered by bringing in a party that has no known presence in Kenya, unlike Helios. Actually still relates to that bit. On the pull-out page, in matters lifestyle, life as a scientist and a storyteller. That is on the Business Daily this morning.
Tuangazie gazeti la Taifa Leo. Taifa Leo hii Jumaa wanaenda na habari ya mambo ya baraza la mawaziri walioshuka bei. Habari kuu pale kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo. Rais
Today Taifa Leo chose violence.
Yes, walioshuka bei. Rais afyatua risasi angani kama onyo kwa mawaziri wake waliozama kwenye mizozo kashfa. Waziri bila kazi Moses Kuria hatimaye atafutiwa mahali pa kujistiri katika wizara ya utumishi wa umma, huku Alice Wahome na katibu waliozozana wakihamishwa. Habari kamili kwenye ukurasa wa pili. Habari zingine zilizopewa kipaumbele kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo. Gachagua ni aibu kwa nchi, Raila asema. Kinara wa Azimio asema naibu rais ajichukulia kama kiongozi wa Mlima Kenya. Kwenye spoti, Newcastle yatoa onyo katika mechi za klabu bingwa Ulaya. Walichakaza Paris Saint-Germain mabao 4-1 katika mechi yao ya kwanza. Kwenye kurasa za spoti, ukurasa wa 20. Vidokezo vingine kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo. Wakenya wakimbilia mshwari. Kwingineko, Sondu, GSU watumwa kuzima vita, na tajiri aachia dereva mamilioni. Na hizo ndizo habari zilizopewa kipaumbele kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo hii Ijumaa. We still have People Daily.
Yes, we do have People Daily. The headline there, Matters Telkom still making headlines in the People Daily. Ministry of Dubai firm in 6 billion shillings Telkom deal. And that story is the story that you've seen headlining in different dailies this morning. And still on the People Daily, Sondu clashes Ma Ruto visit to Nyanza region. And there's an opinion piece there on page 14. What Haiti taught me, former soldier warns that island has over 300 armed gangs, but Kenya has a chance to make a difference. And still on the People Daily, the very top strip, AFC to face Gor in Mashemeji Derby at Kasarani. And adrenaline loading for change, fans of traditional rivals as the headline weekend of football action. Definitely something to look forward to there. And still on the People Daily, special day to celebrate teachers, and pictured there at the very bottom strip of the People Daily is teachers celebrating the International Teachers Day that was commemorated yesterday. Once again, happy International Teachers Day to everyone, including my mom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
and yesterday, Fred and I were sharing that's one teacher that we'll never really forget. Who will be yours?
Who will be mine? I think my history teacher was also who happened to be the class teacher. Si wa math naye. Si wa math ni wa history because she was also the class teacher. So alikuwa ananionea sana. Sasa nataka kumwambia mwalimu wa history hapa ni wapi.
Right, let us cross the borders now to Kampala and see what is happening in Kampala. Some Ugandan politics just for you. On the front page of the Daily Monitor, it goes with Bobby walks in Besigye shoes. The whole fight of matters of opposition. Bobby Wine was actually says that he is in house arrest, well, since yesterday. And Daily Monitor goes with that particular highlight. And just to have more of what this particular Daily says, picked off the tarmacs, or the tarmac. Internal Affairs Ministry yesterday said the opposition leader was whisked away from Entebbe International Airport for security reasons. More on that is on page 4 and 5. Just below there, Matters Teachers Day. Museveni issues directive on promotions. Well, it was quite a good day for teachers in Uganda, though. On the left strip of Daily Monitor, 1,200 arrive for FDC delegates conference. And other stories, government gives Auditor General 30 days to probe UWA scandal, and new border post excites Rwanda-Uganda locals. Well, out from that, on the bottom scroll there in yellow, just below there, Rwenzururu Kingdom lists key priorities after Omusinga Mumbere returns. More is on page 2. And that is what is happening in Uganda.
Well, and in Tanzania, on the Citizen this morning, Tanzania food surplus at 4 million tons, but threats loom. A new central bank report shows that Tanzania has a food surplus of 4 million tons for the 2023-2024 financial year, but looming price increases driven by a multiplicity of factors could impact the affordability of food in Tanzania. And away from that, TCAA in a 35 billion shillings project to upgrade air traffic control there. And in numbers, the number of passengers has risen among fourfold to 5.723 million in 20 years of TCAA operations. And the number of aircraft in the Tanzania has risen to 206 from 101 during 20 years of TCAA operations there. And how stigma is holding back treatment of mental illnesses is a story featured on the Citizen in Tanzania this morning as well. And also Samia visit set to boost Tanzania-India bilateral ties. That's what's headlining in the Citizen in Tanzania this morning.
Tusalie Tanzania kule na tuangalie gazeti la Mwananchi. Kwenye gazeti la Mwananchi leo, habari kuu, wachumi wataka ruzuku ya mafuta. Lengo ni kupunguza makali ya bei. Wengine wasema liwe suluhisho la muda, huku uwekezaji kwenye nishati ukifanyika. Waendesha daladala, bajaji na bodaboda walia na gharama.
I've had bajaji and thought of Baj.
I think those are the bodaboda version. The bodaboda version in Tanzania. Ndio habari kuu kule Tanzania. Kwingineko, changamoto za wagonjwa afya ya akili Mirembe. Ni ripoti maalum kwenye gazeti hilo. Kwingineko, mambo 10 kiafya kwa wanawake wenye miaka 40. Okay. Interesting. Pale chini kwenye ukurasa wa mbele, faida 6 kupatikana ziara ya Samia India. Miongoni mwa manufaa yanatarajiwa kupatikana kwenye ziara ya Rais Samia nchini India ni kujengwa kwa taasisi ya figo, kukuza na kuwezesha wafanyabiashara wa Tanzania. Pale juu kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Mwananchi, kidokezo kimoja, mageuzi 6 sekta ya madini. Na they're just doing lists, mageuzi 6, mambo 10, faida 6. Well, hizi ndizo habari zilizopewa kipaumbele kule Tanzania, maeneo ya Dar, Morogoro, Arusha mjini. Gazeti la Mwananchi Ijumaa leo.
Ijumaa leo tukirejea hapa nchini Kenya, tukiangazia masuala ya caricature. For today we don't really have the cartoon for Daily Nation, but then Nation has the weekly review every single Friday, and you can definitely have a look at it. The weekly review taking a look at Odinga's dilemma. Well, it's not really a cartoon, but the front page of the weekly review, it's a pullout that you'd find for this particular weekend. And well, this particular review says Odinga's dilemma, and goes on to say, as head of the opposition, Raila is revered and hated equally. Like a colossal, he has straddled Kenyan politics for more than 3 decades, with a mixture of successes and failures, but with no clear heir to succeed him and accomplish the family's long quest for the presidency. Is this the final lap for the Odingas? That is the weekly review, front page there. Right, we can take a look at the Standard.
The Standard, the cartoon on the Standard today, it's on page 16, and it's on Kenya's foreign policy so far. and there's someone flying above the clouds with on a broom. He's taking selfies and dancing and doing so many things with a broom above the clouds. And then the final, what do you call it there? The final, the last slide there is handing over the broom to someone new, signaling the change, the transfer of responsibility from one CS to another, referring to that cabinet reshuffle effected yesterday by the president.
The day before yesterday.
The day before yesterday. Okay, the news came out yesterday morning. Now that the Foreign and Diaspora Affairs docket has been transferred to the office of Prime Cabinet Secretary. Yes.
Oh,
that's a cartoon on the Standard today. Unfortunately, we do not have any other cartoon today.
Oh, yes. But I'm curious how even after transferring that broom, how the next occupant of that broom will be using it.
You remember the other day you were just mentioning the fact that Kenya's foreign policy has been somewhat interesting, if I may call it that, from the day the president was sworn in, and already tweets were flying minutes after he was sworn in.
The gaffes that
and they had to delete the tweets. And so much has happened. We've had instances where a cabinet secretary should be there accompanying the president. Someone else is introduced as a cabinet secretary. So many, even this issue with Haiti, we thought it was a joke, but it appears it's something serious. There was a promise about Canada doing one thing or the other, providing jobs for Kenyans. Turned out to be a lie. So yes, Kenya's foreign policy has been quite tumultuous, if I may call it that.
Let's see if Musali is the man to save us from all that that has been going on. And being a Friday, I still have the Nairobian here.
Ah, good.
Yeah. You really love Nairobian. Hey, good, okay. Headline leo ya the Nairobian ako there. Lost love, Madam Boss ignored red flags before saying I do. Rich, single, and lonely.
Sips water for that.
Pictured there is Akode and the allegedly fraudster of her husband. And we'll be looking at that story later on with Bansim. But away from that, the Nairobian has also covered an interesting read here of how using social media is killing marriages on page 5 of the Daily Nation. And Kibandaski chronicles there, middle class ditch high-end hotels in favor of Madhi. Nyumehama. Sijui kama ni Madhi Wangara ama ni Madhi wa klabu. To find that. Next, XMP says Kenyans are following politicians into dark tunnel with eyes shut. Those are some of the stories on the top page of the Nairobian this morning.
Okay. Yeah. Looking forward to a Feel Good Friday later on with DJ Luna. Do stand by for that coming up later. And even before that, Trash to Fashion, Habiba Abdul Rahman, Mrs. Earth UAE Water and CSR Ambassador 2023. These are just some of the things you should be looking forward to. But before all that, we're going to be having this conversation about women in leadership. And this morning we're privileged to be hosting Honorable Gloria Orwoba, Senator, Cynthia Muge, Woman Representative Nandi, and Muthoni Marubu, MP Lamu. Do stand by for that conversation after the break. You're watching Morning Cafe.
On the grind, we have been bringing you different stories from different entrepreneurs. How they started, how they maneuvered, and eventually how they achieved their success. Starting this October, we're making you bigger and better. I, Hibak Said, will be your host, where we will be looking into market margins, how to get capital for your business, and of course we will be telling stories of your businesses with a twist. every Monday at 6:30 p.m.
Radio 47 tuko nawe mchana kutwa na usiku kucha. 101.8 Garissa. Tunavuma na bado
that the only way women can get to parliament is through nomination. And so the proposal of saying half of the elective positions be dropped so that we can create room for nominations, I don't think that is an affirmative action. Particularly because the way the nominated seat is right now, it's supposed to serve as a springboard, but the challenges and the barriers don't allow most of the nominated women to actually get elected. So I don't think that is a way to get women into elective positions. I think if we are serious about getting women elected, we should ask ourselves what are the barriers that women are facing in terms of getting elected by the electorate, not nominated by the party or specially elected. And that's where the conversation should be, not how to bring more women, how my colleagues say, bring more women through the back door. How to get women elected same way as everyone else is getting elected. Yeah, because there are challenges and there are barriers. And it's not that women don't want to get elected, and it's not like the electorate wants to elect women, but we need to have the right conversation, and that proposal is not the right conversation.
Okay, let's get your sentiment, Cynthia, on this issue that we allow parties to nominate more women.
Thank you, Fred, and it's a pleasure being at TV47 today on my morning show. I want to add my voice on the proposals made by COJ. I am sorry to say that it's retrogressive because we are talking about having women elected substantially, not having them nominated. I want to state categorically that women do not appreciate tokenism. They don't appreciate it. They actually want a platform to be part of the conversation on the table. And the best way, Fred, to be part of the conversation on the table is to get there legitimately, as they would want to call it. We want women to be empowered to go to the field and battle it out with men. And I want to use the words of Senator Gloria. We do not want to use the back door because nominations, Fred, have been demonized, so to speak. So every time a woman gets nominated, it's about something that a man did for her to get nominated. And it's not true 100% of the time.
And we'll come back to that issue of nomination because, yes, as you say, a lot has been said about how people get nominated to the Houses of Parliament. What about you, Modoni? What do you think about that proposal by the COG?
Thanks, Brent, for having me as well. I think it's a wild suggestion. Why would you want to give more power to men? Because, I mean, who are in charge of these political parties? It's men. Why not give more power to the Wanjiko, to the constituents to choose? For instance, why not even create 2 positions for women representatives, such that if you want to fill parliament with to that gender, you just say you elect 2 women in every constituency.
Would it not be the same
but you see,
action?
They're going to be elected by the constituents. For you to get elected, you have to be in touch with your people. So instead of saying, let's give more power to political parties, why not give more power to the constituents? Because what we are having is a situation on the ground where the playing field is not leveled for women to be elected or for us to compete with men. So as we progressively chart a way forward for us to level the ground, create even 2 positions so that you can give more power to the local person to elect the person that they feel this person can represent my issues. I think that's a better idea than, you know, going and taking all the powers and giving it to men.
Yeah, there's some who even feel that some of these affirmative action seats already, like for example, the woman representative seat should be done away with. These are some of the proposals presented there that, as you say, you all say, women should, rightfully so, compete on the same level playing field against the men. Therefore, we should get rid of this 47 seats set aside only for women.
You know, I want to hear why they want to get rid of it. You know, if someone says that we've had it, it has done nothing and blah, 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 then we get rid of it, okay. If it actually has no impact to representing women and having issues of gender represented, yeah, let's get rid of it. But someone just waking up and saying, we think this seat should go, then also maybe we think the governor's seat should go. You know, you can't just wake up and say out of no justification. But what I would say is, having served for 1 year as a nominated senator, I'll tell you something that most people think, and this is why we are also coined when we are nominated. It's like, oh, you flower girls. You know, there's nothing you're doing. I've said this before on many forums. In the Senate, I don't have a vote. I can't vote. So I can propose...
Because you are nominated.
Because I'm nominated. So I can propose a bill, but I can't even vote for my own bill. Okay. I have absolutely no powers. The only powers that I have in Senate as a nominated senator is the fact that I can form quorum so that a meeting can start or the session can start. Body count, we call it body count in there. Or so that's up. I can if I don't come and you need one person to start the meeting, that's the power that I have to be present so that you can start the meeting. I can't vote for any matter because nominated don't vote. And another thing that people should understand is that there is a silent culture of as nominated senators of being we are considered, you've come through the back door, and so when it comes to issues that you need to add your voice or add your or have your influence, you are actually not considered. There is a silent culture of nominated senators, for instance, cannot be chairs of committees. Nominated senators are considered second to or last when it comes to issues of ad hoc committees or whatever. So when I look at that situation, then I understand why the electorate sees you as a flower girl. And so towards the next general election, it becomes difficult for you, and those are some of the fights that you see me having, it becomes difficult for you to convince the electorate that in the 5 years that I've been there, I've actually used my voice for something. Because other than debating passionately and fronting bills that you cannot vote for, there is nothing, there's no influence whatsoever that you have. So those are the things that I would rather talk about, that even this, now the Council of Governors is considering bringing another, I don't know how many nominated women into Parliament. They should ask, when they're bringing them, what are they going to do? Because in terms of the power of the vote, and that is where you exercise the representation to the people, in Senate I can tell you we don't have that. So my feeling about the nomination seat is that it is a starting point, and I am very privileged to have this seat, and I'm very, because what it does, it brings you see some of the things I'm talking about, I wouldn't even know about if I was not nominated to the Senate.
True.
So I have to also say that the affirmative action, the way it is now, is a starting point. And we can't be regressive by taking that away. We can't say that the women rep seat, because we think is now more than 10 years, we take it away. No, because many women who have been elected as women representatives of the county, when you look at the start of all single constituency members of parliament who are women, most of them came from the women rep seat. So you can see that it's acting as a springboard. So it's sort of, the electorate normalizes that there are women in parliament. So next time when you come from women rep, and you go for a single constituency, they actually believe in you.
Yet a concern has been raised that the transition rate from that seat, the woman representative seat, to any other elected seat is very low. Cynthia, do you experience similar sentiments with the senator, that probably because you are a woman rep, a seat preserved for women only, that probably there's some kind of bias against you in the National Assembly, that people feel probably you do not hold the same weight as any other member representing one of the 290 constituencies?
Fred, allow me to start from where Senator Gloria stopped. Number one is you see what happens in the Senate. The fact that they do not allow the nominated members to vote is intentional. It is intentional in the sense that it ensures that the women that were sent there to make decisions, affirmative decisions on behalf of the women, cannot be able to exercise that particular responsibility because they have been literally gagged. I want to say that. Secondly, when you come to the National Assembly, and my counterpart can confirm, there are 3 classes of people. Class number 1 is the single constituency members, and that is where even women who are single constituency members forget that the others are women. There is a second class, which is the women reps. I think they become second because they were elected. So, okay, you were elected, it's okay, we can accept. And then there's a third group that is called the nominated. It's open, Fred, in Bunge. It's open. No one even hides it. And just still to weigh on the issue of the governor saying that, the Council of Governors saying that this particular women rep seat should be done away with, I'm just wondering, is it the same Council of Governors that Gladys Wanga sits in? Is it the same one that Kawira Mwangaza sits in? Those were women reps that seriously beat serious men.
And I have to correct that notion. That proposal did not necessarily come from the Council of Governors, but it is one of the proposals made before the team there. Yeah, point noted. But Modoni, you are an independent candidate.
Yeah.
You are an independent member of the National Assembly.
Yes.
I know you're aligned to one or the other of the two major houses. But coming into the National Assembly as an independent candidate was not that easy. How much of a challenge is it to a woman independent candidate? Because yes, there are some things that can be gained from being a party member.
Allow me to weigh in on the issue of women representative first, because I'm one. I always love to tell people, don't look at this as a woman issue. Look at this as a gender issue. For instance, in Nakuru, today we have nearly all elective positions held by women. Tomorrow, we'll have the same in Lamu, the same in Kirinyaga and elsewhere. Would also want to balance this gender and say, let's have more men. So don't look at it today as a women thing. We're looking at it as a gender issue and trying to level the ground. What we can do if we want to bridge this, to that gender role, is give women power, give women more GAF money. For instance, I get, I think, 14 million. My member of parliament gets 140 million. So bridge that gap first. Then women will be seen to be equals on the ground by Mwananchi. Then they'll be voted in. Then tomorrow we'll be balancing this slowly, because things will change soon. So let us not flex our muscles and say it's a woman issue and more women want to be, in power. No, it's just balancing these things because things are changing. To answer your question, it's not easy to be a woman anywhere in power because of the cultures and because of the patriarchy culture that we've had for a long period of time. To be elected as an independent means that you're loved by the people. You look at it and you say, I don't want to, to be as a subject to anyone. You want to go direct to the people and speak to their hearts. That takes courage. But any woman, any man can do it. You just need to mobilize yourself and say, I'm going to Wanjiku. And this is what I'm saying. Allow women, as compared to nominating them, allow them to gather their courage, go to Wananchi and say, elect me, I'm going to represent your issues. Okay. That is what it is.
On the same issue, do you feel compelled to align yourself with any of the major political formations in the House of Parliament? Because you went in as an independent candidate, correct, meaning that these parties did not have you in mind when they were getting their candidates. Probably even Kenya Kwanza had its own candidate for the same seat, and the other side had a candidate. But once you got to Parliament, you found yourself needing to lean on one side or the other. Did you feel compelled for your own survival in the House to do so?
Not survival per se. President Ruto is really good. And you really want to join him, to support his government and his efforts. It's not that they did not want me. For instance, UDA did not even front a candidate in Lamu. They wanted me to join their party. But then I said, because of balancing political dynamics, let me get elected. I'm already loved by the people. I know I'm going to get elected. So what am I going to do? Join UDA and then get hit by the government of the day, leave UDA, join Jubilee and then risk being on the opposition because I knew President Ruto was winning anyway. So I felt like immediately the president won. I knew he was going to win. I joined him immediately. I know he's a person of power. He's really committed to...
Admittedly, you're no longer independent in the House.
I am very independent. Elected, how do I implement the Lamu agenda? If at all, do you want me to be in the opposition? I am independent. For instance, if there are issues of Lamu that need articulation, I will articulate them without anyone telling me, slow down.
I'm asking that because we will come to discuss the issue of political parties and the position of women in political parties. You want to chime into that?
Yeah, I want to say that I completely understand her situation. In 2017, I had just left campus in 2016, and I went to my village and I asked the people of my ward to vote me in as their MCA. And from the word go, I didn't associate with any party, and I actually ran as an independent candidate and won in 2017. And I want to say this, I was a perfect legislator. I was a perfect oversight authority in that county while being an independent candidate. I can tell you, Fred, I wish we could have more independents going to parliaments and the county assemblies. They are effective, excellent legislators.
Did you feel the need to align yourself with any of the major formations? Because I know back then in 2017, Jubilee members must have been the majority in the Nandi County Assembly.
Well, being the county assemblies where most people, the party is not very heavy in its presence in the county assemblies, because the person who runs the show is the governor. So really, you are not even loyal to the party, so to speak. It's being loyal to the CEO of the county. So the party thing did not play a really major role. And you see, the MCA position is looked at as a village position. So even the party people don't really pay much attention to it. But I can tell you, Fred, it was great. Okay. Being an independent candidate in the House, you can speak your mind and you don't have warning letters knocking on your door. You can say no to whatever has been brought that you don't feel like it resonates with you, you don't feel like it's right, and no one is going to ask you questions. But you know, when you're in a party...
You must also give me a chance to call out on the government today for the killings that are happening in Lamu. So I will say the government must reclaim its legitimacy by ensuring that no single life is lost. Okay. So because I'm independent, I'll say this, at this level, at this position, the government has failed.
Okay. Senator, on this issue of independence of thought, because right now both houses of parliament have been accused of being under the capture of the executive. The fact that even the parliamentary group meetings are held at State House, and it did not start with this administration. Even Jubilee did the same. So don't get defensive about UDA. Independence of thought is rare in the Houses of Parliament. As a nominated senator, do you feel that you're able to actually speak up and speak even against any move by Kenya Kwanza?
Yes, because first of all, let me say to people who don't understand the power of being in a party, political parties real serious power. Otherwise, all of us will just be running around being independent candidates.
It's not easy.
And the thing about being in a political party is at least subscribing to an ideology. Because sometimes as an independent candidate, you find this month you're feeling this way, next month you're feeling another way. So there's a sort of, it's like being guided, you know? It's like the followers of an ideology.
But does that independence really exist? Because even Muthoni admits that after getting to the House, she subscribed to one side.
No, but if you've been following my submissions in the Senate, I've even had moments where I have stood and opposed our majority leader. And I don't feel like I'm gagged. And okay, maybe that is the reason why I'm also in so many battles. But the thing is, what personally I love about United Democratic Alliance as a party is that I don't feel gagged in that party. And I feel like in that party we are allowed to exercise our, you know, there's a democratic right that we have, and the party leader sort of says, you know, tell us, what do you think? We are floating this. So many times in our parliamentary group meetings, even in State House, people stand and say we are opposing this or the question. For instance, even the issue of the affordable housing. By the time we got sold into the idea as members of that party, we questioned a lot of things. We questioned the pricing, we questioned the process. I mean, I even remember at one point we had members of parliament saying, no, we are not going to support that. And it took the party leader and his team to convince us. And we had to literally listen and say, okay, this makes sense. That doesn't make sense, but I can live with that. There's always a middle ground. It's not like other places where you're told, wake up, we are going for Mandamano, and you're like, why are we going for Mandamano? But you just go.
And we will discuss that issue because I know all of you belong to the same party.
No, allow me a little chance.
We need to go on a break.
Let me conclude.
Allow me a little chance because Senator Gloria has said that as an independent, you wake up and change this position, then that position tomorrow. Safe for now, Fred. Wait, safe for now that the president is trying to be democratic. Have this these political parties had any ideologies before? Jubilee changed, Kanu changed, they don't know. They change all the time. It's only now President is trying.
We'll come back to
Please,
the same conversation about the independence of women.
Senator.
You're watching Morning Cafe, and today, this Friday, we're focusing on women in leadership. Do stand by for this conversation after the break.
Radio 47 tuko nawe mchana kutwa na usiku kucha.
like this? Why is so-and-so feeling like this? And that is what he does. He calls a PG and explains exactly what it is about. Of course, like someone said, Senator Gloria said, we have a middle ground. There are things we would agree, and there are things we will be like, we have a little bit of a problem. And you see, we really agree most of the time. But of course, the agreement just doesn't happen. We at times really fight before we get to the agreement. And by the time we agree, he has done a lot of pitching. He's a very hands-on person. He literally picks a paper and a pen and does pitching for whatever he thinks this is the right thing. And of course, we get an opportunity of looking into it, of making a decision, not really making a decision into it, but weighing what are the pros and the cons. And then he will be like, guys, this is a good thing if we give it an opportunity. Can we give it an opportunity? Okay. That is the whole essence of having a very good leader in the party, because a party can be useful and a party can be useless, just like the party leader. Okay. So if the party leader is useful, the party will be progressive and very useful for that matter.
And we will come to discuss the UDA party, but before that, because UDA party is planning grassroots elections, and we'll see the position of women in that. But before that, yesterday, Muthoni, you made your maiden speech in the National Assembly. Yes. This is more than a year after you were elected and sworn in as a member of the National Assembly. Yeah. Does any of this have to do with your position as an independent member, that maybe you felt that the issues you want to articulate for a whole year without the backing of a party, you were not able to? Or why did you wait for so long?
Not quite. But first, before I delve into that, allow me to say something about the independence and political party thing. I don't think people in Kenya Kwanza respond to UDA. People in Kenya Kwanza respond to the president, because the president is truly committed and he's very democratic.
It is about the party leader, not
for now, I would say without any doubt, because it's not about UDA. UDA have don't have like an overwhelming majority in the National Assembly. It's Kenya Kwanza, and it's mobilizing all these other small political parties into believing in his agenda. So it's him. He's very consultative. He would call people in State House for 8 hours, standing there and trying to explain why he believes the housing fund is going to work. So it's about President President Ruto, sorry. It's about him, the man. It's about his capacity and ability to mobilize people. But about my maiden speech, I did not wait because of me being an independent candidate. It has been about Lamu. Lamu has been very, 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 very sensitive with regards to the killings that are happening. I've allowed time to see if things are just going to work. I've gone to all the ministry, interacted with all intelligence department, all security, agencies, and trying to, go about this issue about the ethnic cleansing that is happening in Lamu in a quiet, democratic or diplomatic manner. I'm a student of diplomacy, so first I believe don't first go out there and articulate an issue. Just first go and talk to people. But now, where it has reached, what is happening in Lamu must be called out for what it is, because it is pure ethnic cleansing. And it's really big to say that on a national television, but that is what it is. And the security agencies and the government have been getting it so wrong because they're not looking at it for what it is. You try to tell people, oh, this is what is happening. They'll tell you, you, Muthoni, why are you in Lamu? Why are you actually the member of parliament for Lamu County? So if you have people believing that a certain community, or let me just say it, the Kikuyu community is not supposed to be in Lamu, then you have, a position that is already wrong from the word go. And 97% of the people that are getting killed in Lamu, that are being slaughtered in Lamu like chicken, are from the Kikuyu community. Why are we not having other people dying, and we have all these other communities in Lamu?
Because I do not have all the facts about what is happening in Lamu.
I'm telling you, verify.
I'll take restraint, and I urge restraint in referring to the communities.
It is the position. I'm saying the community that is getting killed, Fred. That is fact.
It is a security issue.
That's why I'm saying I kept quiet, because I thought it was a security issue, but now it's a matter of life and death.
Okay.
Existential threat to a community, and it is not right that we'll have people dying just because they are from a certain community. It's not right.
This issue has been simmering for a while.
Quite a while.
Yes. The question was why you had to wait for a whole year before speaking out. Even on any other issue of national importance, there was a lot.
I have been on the committees of the House. You do not necessarily, Parliament is not necessarily being on the podium of the House or being on national TV or articulating an issue at the floor of the House. I've been in committees. I'm in the Committee for National Cohesion. I'm also in the Committee for Agriculture. I've been trying to articulate my issues, especially at the Committee of National Cohesion, because you see, if an issue is that delicate, you want to try and be diplomatic about it first, before now you come out and say, why is this one community being targeted? If it was another community, let's say the Boni community, or the Sanya community, or the Bajuni community, or the Somali community being killed and targeted and isolated, so I would equally come out and speak about it. So, but I've been holding back because I happen to come from that community that is being targeted, and I'll be seen as if I am I'm just articulating an issue of a community.
I will still repeat the question, because when you are in the National Assembly, you simply do not just represent your own constituency.
Correct.
There are other issues, the greater national constituency as well.
Yes.
There have been many opportunities for you to chime in, even in the debate about the finance bill and every other. But the fact that you waited,
yes.
Was there any reason?
Yes.
Were there any
main reason is when you are making a
intimidated?
Intimidated for where? You get elected as an independent and you can be intimidated by who?
Okay.
The fact that I held back was there's a special thing about a maiden speech. You are heard uninterrupted, and for a cool 10 minutes you can say anything you want. So I wanted a situation or a position that I can say just about anything without anyone, calling the speaker out on a point of order. She's speaking too much, or she's speaking not in the right manner. So I was allowed a chance to say things exactly the way I saw them at the National Assembly without being interrupted. That's the beauty of the maiden speech. But also, I'm a slow student, very average. So I learn slowly.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Now, before we even get to the UDA party, and
please don't ask me
I'm glad you clarified. No, enough has been said about your contribution. You made your speech immediately. The issue about the party leader, before we even get to the UDA party, each one of you has talked about the accolades and the credentials of the party leader, the president. Before he was elected president, while he was still deputy president and campaigning for the presidency, he signed a women charter. And in that charter, he promised 50% of positions in cabinet will be reserved to women. And those are 11 positions. If we may count all the women, including the secretary to the cabinet right now, they number 8. This is not something that is out, or we could say is not within his reach. He's able to. Are we saying that within the whole pool of resources among party loyalists, party members in UDA, the president could not find women who were capable enough, 3 more, to feature in his cabinet? Or is it a fact that he made a promise and he failed to keep it, Senator?
Why do you always have to look at the glass half empty? Why? Show me another president, another government that has even gone past 5 women in cabinet. None. Since independence of this country, none.
I'm just talking about the promise and what he did.
It's the same way we are talking about the 2/3 gender rule, right? After many years, we've just done affirmative action. Don't look at the glass half empty. Look at the glass half full. Because, number one, let us just say it as it is. He's the only presidential candidate who even signed a charter, a women charter, promises to women, particularly. He's the only president who has attempted to intentionally look at the issues of women from a perspective of the women. So when you're talking about he's shy of 3 to get to the 50%, I don't hear anyone saying, my goodness, we have 8.
And probably the reason is that the women in UDA or within that pool of resource available to the president was simply not good enough.
No, don't say that. Don't say that, because, I mean, as we sit here, Muge and I could be cabinet secretaries, don't say that. It's a dynamic that is, you must be able to understand it from a political perspective. For instance, let me say, we have so many technocrats who, towards the very tail end, when they saw that for sure the president is going to win, is when they said, okay, I subscribe, and because they realized this guy is going to go into power, I'm a technocrat, I'm a sitting cabinet secretary, or, you know, of that level. But you see, most of those didn't really, and they don't subscribe to the ideologies that got us elected.
Okay.
You understand? So you have technocrats who are capable of doing technically the work, but they don't subscribe to the ideology. Okay. This thing requires a combination of, do you understand even why we got elected? Do you understand how President Ruto got elected? Through the Hustler Nation movement, through the economic forums that we went round to campaign against, through certain ideologies. If you don't have those ideologies in you, you cannot deliver, even as a technocrat. So what happened is, during the shortlisting, and when now the process of putting together the cabinet and the positions, let's say the Women Charter, you know, I'm speaking from a point of authority because the Women Charter, I was part of the leadership of the Women Charter, of the Kenya Kwanza Women Charter. So I can tell you for a fact, the things that I'm saying, you can go and verify. It has to be a combination, number one, of a woman, number two, a technocrat, number three, a believer of the ideologies that got Ruto elected, number four, a performer. So those dynamics are not just like, let's pick ABCD. And
even with those requirements?
I will tell you, unfortunately, with all those, someone with the, like for instance, myself, I'm in Senate. You also need those women in Senate. So you ended up, the people who are ideal, who you would say, if you close your eyes like this, they had already been elected, Akina Muge, they had already, so you can't keep pulling people out of places where they're delivering.
You say the women are enough and capable, then you say that probably with the kind of requirements, they were not enough?
From my point of view and from the process, and because I was a part of it, I can tell you where we lacked a lot with the women who can deliver, they have the technical skills, is that they don't believe in the ideologies, and they don't understand why Ruto was elected. And that is a very, very critical part of it.
So my assertion was right, that within the resource pool within UDA,
not
and
within
the people
UDA,
who supported William Ruto and were loyalists, there were not enough women capable of
no, now you are, no. That is not what I've said. I have said that indeed we have within UDA many women who can fulfill those positions.
Okay.
I mean, look at, for instance, Gladys Boschole. But we also need a deputy speaker.
And there was no other woman.
No, listen, I'm just giving an example. We need a deputy speaker, right?
You know why? Because I'm heading to the party.
But she can make a perfect cabinet secretary to top up. I mean, that's what I'm trying to tell you. That aside from now the ones that cover the whole 5 points that I've given you, then we had to go to our pool of technocrats who, some of them who came very last minute, don't really believe in the ideology.
Cynthia, you say that during parliamentary group meetings you're allowed to question some of the decisions made. How come the women within UDA have not called out the president on his promise that you promised to reserve 50%, and he was not required by any law to do so? He made a promise himself. He would have decided not to make that promise, and no one would have criticized him because he has covered the 2/3 already. Are you able to call him out on this promise and say, you promised us, you did not fulfill?
Yeah, Fred, of course, I want to say on the issue of the promise made and whatever was delivered, I want to say, one, we must accept that Rome was not built in a day. And at times, just like anyone else, you would plan to do something with a certain budget, but you end up not doing it with that particular budget. That said, I want to say that we had a meeting with the president as women reps, of course, from the opposition and from government. And the first presentation that we did was first to take him to task to tell us why we missed 3 cabinet secretaries as women. And as gracious as he is, he took his time to explain why. And we asked him, now, what is the way forward? And of course, he said, I will still continue in delivering my promise in many other appointments, which he has done to a greater extent. I haven't seen any other government that considers women, that every gazette notice that comes out, previously when you look at the history and the other gazette notices of previous governments, you wouldn't really notice women. But in his Gazette notices that come out every Friday, you will notice that there are women that are being appointed every other time. And on that premise again, he said, as women reps, allow me to empower you further. And that is where we asked for the additional 1 billion for GAF, the GAF fund. And I can tell you this, Fred, he did not even say anything further. He actually gave it to us. Okay. He's a very intentional president. He even has a gender officer in his office, a very senior person, that is in the name of Harriet Shigai, who is dealing with gender issues. A person who has been very deliberate in dealing with the issues that are affecting women, issues to do with court cases of defilement, early marriages and pregnancies, the FGM and whatnot. We have been able to speak to those issues. We spoke to the issue of sanitary towels. The sanitary towels, Fred, if you are informed, they're actually being controlled by the education department or State Department of Education. We actually brought it to his table and said, look, if we want to empower women so that we can get even more women to be suitable for the other positions, we have to start from the small girl. And you know what, Fred? He has given his promise, and we are actually waiting for the budget to be moved from them to the women positions. So he's very intentional.
If that promise will be fulfilled, because he failed on that one for cabinet.
No, but that one is fulfilled.
The other one, I know,
Fred,
Senator,
from
we want to talk about
260 million allocation of budget for sanitary pads. That was the previous government giving 260 million. We are at 940 million, shy of 1 billion. That is already a promise delivered. The issue now is moving the money from the Ministry of Education to the Ministry of Gender and having an oversight from the women reps.
On this issue of two-thirds gender rule, he made a promise that within 3 months, the framework will be in place. This is more than a year later. You also speak about his accolades, and you affirm that you support the president.
Him, yes.
Even on that one, he failed to deliver.
Fred,
I'm sure there are reasons behind
Fred, let me tell you, sometimes it's very difficult to balance politics, power, and governance. I do not know President Ruto for a person who negates on his commitment. Trust me, he is really committed. If he tells you he will do it, believe me, he will do it. So sometimes allow people a chance. I would just say,
give him time.
Yeah, just allow him a chance. He's a good man. He's a very committed president.
We'll give him time.
Please.
Can I say something on the two-third gender rule? That one I want to agree with you, Fred. We failed. That one I will agree. I'm known to speak the truth, so I will tell you that we failed. But it's also because we have failed because we are trying to solve a political problem legally. You are trying to solve a political problem using legal instruments. It will never work. If you're trying to solve a political problem, you must use political instruments. So if you're trying to get women elected, then you must ask yourself, why are women not getting elected? And that is a political angle. Women are not getting elected because they lack the support, because they are being beat down anytime a woman comes up to showcase leadership in all different spaces. Now what they're doing, and I support a lot of things that we are doing in terms of gender, but I don't support this. I don't support, one of the things that happened, and I will speak freely on this, is we had a working group that was constituted the other day from the Ministry of Gender. And the working group was purely women with one man. And I was like, we are trying to solve a two-third gender rule with a working group that does not fulfill the two-third gender. In itself, you can see the problem is even the thought process around it is not a political thought process. It's a technical thought process or a legal thought process, which will never give us the political solution.
Okay.
If you ask me about getting women elected, I've said this in different forums. Number one, as political parties, you have to be intentional. One thing that ODM did last time in their party primaries, all the women who were sitting members of parliament who are in ODM were allowed to, they were given direct tickets, because at that time the thought process was, we don't want to subject you further to a process that you might lose this seat. We want to maintain you in that seat, then go back to the grassroots and look at other strong women and top them up. So that at the end of the day, If ODM, just by example, has 10 women who are sitting, members of parliament, they got their direct nomination tickets, then the next 3 or 4 who are added, maybe 2 would get elected, so you end up having 10 plus 2. So that was a political thought process of it. Whereas the other political parties, what they said is that we all have to be fair, everybody has to go back. That is where some of the Jubilee women who were elected lost their seats. Yes. So we were not making gains, we were actually reducing the women.
You've just taken us to where this conversation should be, the position of political parties.
Yes, and let me tell you now what I would say. As opposed to saying the proposal of let's get 2 women representative seats so that we can add women. No. How do we get women to be elected in single constituency seats? Number one, this position of nominated should have a cap. How many times can you be nominated? Surely there must be a minimum. Even if you want to say, okay, maybe the first 5 years are not enough, we put a limit of 2 terms. Okay. You can only be nominated 2 terms. Women representative seat is an affirmative action seat. So also, that should be able to give you just let me complete my thought. That should be able to give you an idea that you are elected as a women rep to now push you to either pick a single constituency like the likes of Wanga and who, or to go and seek governorship or whatever. It pushes you into elective. Okay. And then if you ask me, you have to look at areas, because the issue of nominating women into these elective seats, why are we doing it? Number one, we need proper representation of the issues of gender. So you look at their constituencies, Fred, which have the history of never electing any women at the county assembly, at the national assembly, or at the senate. For instance, in Kisii County, we have 1 MCA who's a woman, and then the women rep. You're supposed to look at those particular constituencies and list them. The same way we list constituencies that need the extra fund. What do you call it? The fund for marginalized communities, and I forget the name. But that's the same way we should look at these regions, these particular regions. They don't see women as being elected. Okay. So what can we do in those constituencies?
Okay. Your reaction to that before we come to the parties.
My reaction is like, Senator Gloria is saying, like, don't have 2 women, nominate them. Why would you want to allow a political party to choose the women that should represent?
No, that's not what I said. No, that's not. No,
my position would be as follows.
Please correct that.
No, my position.
No, but
please allow to clarify.
Clarify that. I have not said that nominate women. I've actually said that we should not create more affirmative action seats.
But what are nominated positions?
That's what I'm saying.
Nominated positions are affirmative positions. Mm-hmm. I am saying allow the people a chance to elect qualified women as compared to giving political parties more power to nominate, because there are criteria for being nominated, and also there are criteria for being elected. Allow the people to choose 2 women and then give these women more funds. Like, for instance, I get 14 million, my member of parliament gets 140 million. So whatever I'm doing on the ground cannot be seen to be, as competitive as compared to my male counterpart. Okay. So show the community that these women are able to implement. Yes. These women possess leadership, leadership roles. Yes.
Before we even come to the nomination of members to the National Assembly, there's what the UDA party is now looking to do. For the very first time in a very long time in Kenya, we'll have party elections. If at all they do happen.
They will.
Even ODM has promised to do the grassroots elections sometime early next year. Now, up until now, officials and leadership positions within parties, not elective, not representative, within parties, have been given piecemeal to women. Party leader here, organizing secretary there. But this time around, how different will it be for UDA? Because this is the perfect moment to actually get women into party leadership. All the women, let's be fair, all the positions right now are appointive.
Thank you, Fred. On the issue of the grassroots elections, I want to tell you that this party will go into history in matters electing women to those positions. And we have been very intentional. As much as we want to say that the current chair is not substantive, I can tell you this, it is going to be substantive eventually. that it is first going to be a woman. And you know, this is a party, yes, this is a party that has even set precedents, even when we are campaigning, having a female SG. Fred, we have to agree on that. And
appointed.
It is going, actually the goodwill is there. And what do we need? These political things, we need the goodwill first.
Are you aware of the structure they're going to employ to ensure that women actually get to these positions?
We have so many positions, and
it is 2 months
right
for the
from of course, right from the polling stations, the polling center. You know, it comes up all that way. And I can tell you this, Fred, you can be sure and. Be sure to call me back here after the party elections so that we can be able to speak to this matter.
It is a very interesting conversation.
It is.
I would be curious to know if at all either one of you is looking to vie for any party position, because that is where the decisions are made.
Yeah, but even if it's not going to be me or Gloria or anyone within the corridors of power, they are going to be able and capable women who are going to run for these positions. And we are going to support them entirely. Yeah. And lastly, on this same issue, we have spoken about the president having promised 2/3 and did not deliver. I want to say that, do you know where this 2/3 thing dies? It dies in Parliament. And the almost only constitutional article that the male members of Parliament know is Article 81.
President was aware of that
They
issue.
would say, give us Article 81, we delete it.
The president was aware
and let me tell you,
Parliament exists.
It's okay.
The president has control over this Parliament.
He's aware and he has control. And that is why, Fred, he has actually written to Parliament and stating his position.
Questions about the independence of Parliament have been raised. But Senator, back to my question. Are you vying for any
No, I'm not vying. You know why? Let me explain myself, because I think, first, I'm privileged enough to have been given an opportunity to rise my career in politics as an specially elected senator. And I think that there are many other women who we were down in the grassroots with who deserve an opportunity to also be elevated. So I'm already elevated at the Senate. Why would I now want to come again and fight for an opportunity that my colleague who are women, see, we are trying to add more women into power. I'm already somewhere. So I would encourage, and I'm going to rally for the people who never perhaps got an opportunity until now, to support them, because there are women who we went around in the Women Charter with who have the ability to be leaders, and there also has to be, there has to be a place where you say, okay, now I'm here, how do I pull up the next woman? That is my way of thought. But I know if I run for it, I'll get it. You know, it's not that I'm shying away from it. Like I will run for Nairobi. What do you call it? The Nairobi County. I'll get it in the morning, 8 a.m. But Fred, but I need to also elevate the people, the women who we have.
The reason as to why, Fred, I know it's going to happen within UDA, although I am not a UDA man. It's because the president said it will happen. He means it.
Do you think, like, for example, in the next election, you'd want to belong to a party and a UDA for this matter, because you already support the party leader?
She's coming.
Yeah, because I believe in the president. I know the president is going to structure a party in such a way that is going to be nice. But I am already loved by the people. They will elect me whether I'm in a party or not in a party.
Because the question is, you talked about ideologies and you challenged the fact that parties don't have ideologies.
It's about the president.
My question is about the position of women in generating and sustaining this conversation within the party level. And when I see you say that officials of the party should be taken over by other people, not the people who are already
women.
there. Yes.
You know, it's not really, I'm not the only, me and Muge are not the only women in UDA. We have many women in the grassroots who actually contributed heavily towards the election of our candidate, our presidential candidate. They deserve to be elevated.
And you must have attended the NGC that took place at Bomas of Kenya.
Yes.
And my question is on the structure that will ensure that women actually get to take up these positions within the party. Is that structure
There is a structure.
open?
There's a structure that's there. But also what we are doing as women in the party, or what I'm doing, this now is on a personal level, is I'm rallying around women who I know have the capacity. And, you know, it's going to take money. You know, people don't talk about this. People just talk about, capacity building, I don't know what. To get elected in any position anywhere in politics, you need money. So if we're going to keep talking here on TV and our women in the grassroots, we can't even help them to campaign, because it's a campaign. They have to campaign and convince the delegates who are going to vote for them. So personally, what I'm doing, I'm supporting financially and with strategy the women that I am backing, because I'm backing a couple of women who I want to see get into office on that leadership.
On the position of a chairperson that Cynthia insists will be a woman, what method will this party adopt to ensure that it's a woman who's chairperson? Right now it's easy because it's an appointive position, but
you see, we don't want tokenism.
Yes.
So I think what you're asking is, will there be a special way
Some
to
seats
ensure?
reserved for women?
No, we don't want that. What we want to be elected. And that's what I keep telling people. Even this thing of simtutafutie formula so that it's for sure only a woman. No, what we want is, first of all, the women who've come out to say that they are running for chair, give them the equal chance. Meaning, if there's going to be, let's say, audience with the party leader, don't just be going as men, as a boys' club to the party leader to also, sell your ideologies and what you're going to offer in that leadership. If there's those opportunities for the candidates, let the candidates, including the women, get the equal opportunity. But we don't want tokenism. So there's no, what you're asking, if there's a special way that we are going to make sure it's just a woman, no. The seat is there, let the men vie, let the women vie. And women, what we need to do, and this is where we fail. This is where we fail. Me, I'll say it. I know my colleague women, they don't like it, but I'll say it. Where we fail is, we want to sit in a corner and complain and lament. And the men, they go to the golf club and give each other money and support each other. So as women, we just need to pull up our socks. Okay. Bring the money. Let's go campaign for our candidate. Let's make sure that our candidate has, he can move, can convince delegates, can, whatever the forum is of ensuring you get the vote, it requires money. So women need to put
political party
money
hygiene is also an issue.
Fred,
Yes.
maybe to correct that a little, it's not always about the money. It's about the character of a person. If you tell everybody, or the youths and women, that you need only money for you to be elected, that is really self-defeating, because you will go into, to putting a culture or a mindset into the people that you have to buy into positions of power. I am elected, and independently so. Where do you think you mobilize millions and millions and millions of money to go into campaigns? You go talk to the people. You go talk to the hearts of the people. You have an idea, an agenda. They will elect the character of the person that you are. That is what actually needs to happen, that we change the narrative that political power has to be bought. Okay. You really need to be a person of character to be elected. That first.
Okay.
Yeah. But how do you mobilize? I have a question. How do you mobilize people? How do you call people?
Ask me, how did I mobilize people?
No, wait.
Fred, how did I mobilize people? Ask me. I didn't have money. I come from a very poor background. I have been elected, Senator Gloria, independently. So don't tell women that they need to get money for them to go buy political power or any elected position. You must be a person of character.
Can I pose a question? Yes, can I pose that? This is where we go wrong, and let me tell you, this is why women are not getting elected.
I'm elected independently.
No, allow me to speak. Allow me to speak.
Please talk.
Senator.
When you're mobilizing people, even the grounds with which they are going to stand often are paid for, number one. They are paid for. And they're not paid for by character. They're paid for by money. When you are calling the same women that you want to talk to because it's going to be delegates, you're calling them when? You're not going to call them on Sunday. Or even if you call them on Sunday, someone will tell you, mimi leo siendi kuosha nguo. Tafadhali nakuja, what do I do?
That's a bad character.
No, wait. I'm not talking about buying votes. When you are even going there, assuming, she's assuming she's elected, so she has a car, so she can go there.
I wasn't always elected, please. Fred, allow me.
No, let me.
My colleague Jematia, she was once elected into
she's not allowed
in Parliament. What happened? She used to go to Parliament, and she was talking to all members of Parliament. Please vote for me. You don't need money. You need to be a person of character.
Talk above each other and above each other.
Person of character, money. Where are you going to get all the money? No. That is not it is not fair to tell people that they need money.
He was talking about the position of political parties. Now, these same political parties that we are riding on, because looking at the proposals of the Bomas of Kenya on how to probably go closer towards achieving the two-thirds gender rule, the position of the political parties comes into play, and it's a major player in this exercise. And even you have admitted that it is a political problem. So it needs political instruments, and political instruments include political parties. These same political parties have for decades abused issues like nomination, and not just at the national level, especially at the county assembly level. That the quality of people nominated to the county assemblies has been wanting. And I'll mention it, that girlfriends of politicians, wives of politicians, relatives of politicians end up being nominated. How will these same parties now come and rectify and ensure that what we get as a result of ensuring that the 2/3 gender rule is achieved will actually be quality leadership and not just quantity?
Thank you, Fred, and allow me to add in your list of girlfriends, wives, allow me to add boyfriends and husbands of politicians.
Thank you for saying that.
Because if you don't add it, you're actually exacerbating the situation.
Okay.
So I want to say this. Parties need to do better in terms of vetting the people that go into the nominations, because we have had a very low gradual ascension of people going to elective positions. Some of the attributes that are given to why that is not happening is because they say, so why did you nominate so-and-so? What did you expect so-and-so to do to be able to ascend to being an elected person? So I want to agree with you that parties must sit down, parties must be realistic, and parties and people who head the parties must do away with interests, so that as a party sits down to nominate people, it is nominating people, one, who have shown serious interest in ascending to elective positions. And number two, it must also nominate people who look like they have a better chance of being elected. And number three, the parties also must ensure that these people that are nominated are not just put there for purposes of quorum, like Senator Gloria puts it. They must be allowed to air their views. They must be allowed to bring their comments and suggestions to the table where decisions are made, so that we can be progressive on the same.
Okay.
Again, Fred, allow me to say this. On the women, you know, everyone and anyone, I don't know why it has become so comfortable and so easy for people to find excuses for women not doing this and women not doing that, and find someone to blame for it. One, as women, and I am a woman before I'm anything else, we must call ourselves to a meeting as women and be able to speak to these issues. Fred, when elections and campaigns were ongoing, there are very few women who are involved. That is why it at times becomes hard. You want to go to a county where a male person volunteered to do the county manager, the sub-county manager, the ward manager, and the mobilization things that happened during the campaigns. So we want to say that now we are putting these guys aside and going for women who did not come out to do the same. And let me tell you this, Fred, every woman, any woman who came out and actually fought for the party, be it Azimio, be it Kenya Kwanza, they found a place because those women are actually few. So
is it a question of ownership of these parties? Because it's not just ownership of the party as a party leader, but even ownership of the ideology by the women themselves. A lot has been said about who owns political parties in Kenya. As it is right now, there's no woman party leader, apart from Martha Karua. For example, the other party leader, I think, is it NAK? Charity Ngilu had a party back in the 90s. And years later, how come the younger generation of women politicians are not taking up that role of actually leading their own parties, forming their own parties, and actually owning the ideology of a party?
Fred, I think that is where we should be, that is what we should be talking about. That is the conversation we should be having on this table and in this country, so that we stop complaining about what lower positions should be given to women, what position should be preserved for women. We should get out of that comfort zone and be able to talk about these female and women-owned parties, so that we can be progressive.
Out of a possible 90 parties that are funded by the taxpayer, the Registrar of Political Parties released that list. Over 90 parties are funded by the taxpayer. How many of those are led by women?
Clearly you've said it's true, but we are coming from a culture of patriarchy. So slowly we are going to get there. I don't want to delve so much into the political party things and.
Yet we cannot ignore the position of political parties.
Yes, it's a very solid position. I've told you initially these political parties have not had any ideology. Say for now, I think because we have a solid leader in the name of William Ruto, I believe we're going to have UDA for a long period of time, and it's going to possibly be a party of ideology. Politics is really tough, and it's been tough on women because of patriarchy. But slowly we are getting there. Look at what has happened in Muranga, in Nakuru, in Kirinyaga, and where is this county for Gladys Wanga? Homa Bay. Yeah, I mean, slowly getting there. But what is really needed is for us women to hold ourselves also accountable because of the space that we hold. You don't want to be seen to be destroying the space that has been created for women by not providing the leadership that you're supposed to. And if we hold ourselves well, like we have been doing, I believe a lot of space is going to be created for us. And even Wanjiku is going to believe in us, because that is what it takes. Because these spaces are not necessarily given, they are earned. Exactly,
slowly. Power is
never
taken.
Given. Yes,
never given.
It's earned.
What is the difference between the likes of Martha Karua, Professor Wangari Maathai, Charity Ngilu, who were party leaders in their own right back in the 90s and contributed a lot to the second liberation? How come this time round, decades later, when you're supposed to have more liberated women, better educated, with more opportunities, not leading their own parties?
First, you asked, before I addressed that, you asked a question of nominations. And I was wondering, they answered and they are not nominated.
I've been nominated before, Senator.
So you should ask me because I'm nominated. You can't ask an issue that does not affect them, and then you don't.
Fred, correct. I've been nominated before as an MCA.
And I wish I could. Can I speak?
Go ahead.
Without interruption?
Don't attack, then not allow us a chance to respond.
Let's
please.
allow the senator to proceed. Yeah.
The issue of nominations and whether we are girlfriends or not girlfriends, or whether we should have been nominated or not.
Clarification, that is not.
Now that's why I'm saying I can speak authoritatively because I'm nominated. So when people say they are nominating their girlfriends, I can now clarify. You understand what I mean? For me, I think definitely there should be a formula. But even before I talk of the formula, let me tell you that every nominated member of county, at least let me say every nominated member of parliament, because those I've interacted with, earned their position and through the political process. As Mheshimiwa Muge has said, they were active during the time of campaign. They contributed to the party in one way or another in terms of actually moving the bases. They ensured within their small spaces that they were actively contributing to get our presidential candidate elected. And I feel very bad when people look and they say, where did this one come from? This one must have been a girlfriend to that and that. Because maybe you are not present in the campaign period.
Involvement within the party.
Yeah, and the involvement, so you might not know. Yes, there are people who were not at the forefront. But behind the scenes, we can attest and say, this particular person did A, B, C, D.
But you must admit that some parties have abused
yes.
that
some parties have abused it. Some parties have actually ensured that now this issue of being called flower girls is solidly in there because of the type of people that they nominate. There's a very important thing that Cynthia said, that you can't keep nominating people who cannot get elected, and then you ask yourself, why are we not meeting the 2/3 gender rule? If you take, and I've said this in another forum, if you take a banker who has no interest in politics, they have never been interested in even sitting in parliament. They have never even picked up a constitution to read what it says or whatever. And then you nominate them because for whatever reason, they have earned that spot according to you as the party leader of the party. Then after 5 years, you're expecting the banker to stand for an elective seat. It's not going to happen. And the statistics, and now me, that's where I say the conversation of having 2 extra positions for women rep, the conversation of taking half elected, adding half, all those conversations are null and void to me, because the conversation we should be having is the affirmative action seat has been there for over 10 years. How come the nominated women are not getting elected. Then when you address that, then you can be able to say they're not getting elected because, Fred, I sit in Senate. I look at some of the nominated women, and I'm not saying this in any bad intention, but they have no interest in politics. And even they tell you they are not going to vie again. So
They're
that
not
is
even interested in party positions.
They are not even interested in party positions. They are not interested in politics. They tell you outrightly that they are not going to vie. Oh, wewe ngangana juu wewe ni mtu wa siasa. We know you're looking for votes. So, but they're holding an affirmative action seat that should be held by an upcoming politician who is going to use it as a springboard to get elected. So if you ask me, the formula we should put for all these nominations, on the county level, all number 2s who are women should be ranked.
Those who actually vie.
Yes, you vie mpaka general election and then you're ranked. My point is you're ranked in what sense? Even, let's say, Bobasi constituency, I vied, I was number 2 as a woman. Then, my percentage of votes. So if I got 20,000 votes against a voter turnout of 150,000, they take my percentage. Then they put all of us in a list, you know? So whoever has the highest percentage, political parties have no choice. They go to that list.
Yes.
They see under UDA.
A formula that
there's a formula. They see this one's performed. So number 1 to 18, if it's the Senate, they just, and even the list, there'll be no fighting. I'm number 4, I'm number 3. You just, your percentage
because of time,
gives you the formula.
I will ask you to give your final comments.
So let me say this also. The issue of getting elected as women,
is it part of your final comments?
Yes, this is my final comment. The issue of getting elected as women is very simple. You have to, if you go into banking, you ask yourself, how do I escalate to be the bank manager? If you go into politics, how do I escalate to be elected? So there are 3 things, whether you want to look at them or not. There is the brand. You have to have your brand. That is what now is being referred to as character. There is a brand that you possess and people look and they say, is this a person that I can take as a leader? Number 2, you have to have a political affiliation. Whether you want to be an independent candidate or be in a political party, you find a way to figure out where you are. Number 3, even as I know so many strong brands, including the likes of Boniface Mwangi, who never got elected because they lacked resources. Because even your agents, who you're going to put in the polling station to safeguard your vote so that you are not rigged out in one way or another, they need to be paid. And the more we actually talk about the issue of women not being funded, is when we'll come to realize all your good characters and your political affiliations will never get you elected. Without money.
Thank you for that. Cynthia, final comments?
Yeah, as my final comment, it's a call for the presidency to ensure that we have the implementation of the 2/3 gender rule. It's a political decision and he has the power. So we want to ask as a women folk that he implements that, and the women of this country will never forget it. Number 2, I want to encourage women. Women must go out there, run for positions, be it party, be it elective positions, anything, apply and take part in whatever is happening. And lastly, I want to take this opportunity, Fred, because if it were not for the teachers of this country that we have gone through their hands, especially my teacher, my nursery school teacher, Madam Evelyn and Madam Mary, wouldn't be on this table today. Fred wouldn't be knowing there's a Gloria, Fred wouldn't be knowing that there's a Muthoni and a Cynthia. So we want to give a big shout out to our teachers because they have made every engineer, every nice, very eloquent presenter like Fred Indimuli and even the presidents of this country. They have made all those people and they are products of teachers. Teachers are awesome and they're the best of people. Lastly, Fred, we have a project in Nandi County called Mama na Kahawa. We want to ask all the women in Nandi County that we have 80,000 seedlings on offer for coffee. What you need to do is register in the GAF office or the Woman Rep office. Ensure that you go there, you put in your acreage of land, 3 points, 5 points, half an acre, 2 acres, 5 acres, and you will get the seedlings and we'll walk through the journey. We want to ensure that the people of Nandi, the women of Nandi, the youth of Nandi, the PWDs of Nandi control the value chain of coffee, right from planting all the way to the marketing and even pocketing the money. As Kenya Kwanza said, pesa mfukoni. We want to make that come real with Mama na Kahawa in Nandi County. Asante
sana. Cynthia, finally, Muthoni, you wrap it up for us.
I'll start by appreciating all the teachers. My father is actually a teacher, Mr. Patrick Marobo. So shout out to all the teachers. They've molded us and truly appreciate all of you, and especially you, my father. And number 2, I would want to tell women, like, as much as you need money to come into political position, you need to be women of character and please don't try to be men. When you want to be elected, don't try to be to have the masculinity. Just try to be the feminine person you are. People will love you. People will elect you. Number 3 is I'll ask the media and all of you to please look into this thing in Lamu, whatever is happening in Lamu. Call it out for what it is. Do a little research. Bring out this issue for what it is so that we can stop losing innocent lives in a very dehumanizing manner. Thank you very much, Fred, for having us.
Well, thank you so much, Muthoni.
And shout out to all the women before us, the Martha Karuas, the Charity Ngilus, who have paved the way for us, Shout out to them. Yeah.
Professor Wangari Maathai as
Wangari Maathai.
Thank you so much, Cynthia Muge, Woman Representative Nandi, Gloria Orwoba, Senator, and Muthoni Marubu, MP Lamu. Thank you so much for your very well considered opinions on this issue of women in leadership. And it's been a very engaging and a very interesting conversation. The conversation continues online in our social media pages on X TV47 News and on Facebook TV47 Kenya. And ladies, just before we wrap up this session, I'll have to go through this editorial commentary. So the clashes in Sondu between communities living on the border of Kericho and Kisumu counties are a cause for deep concern and demand immediate attention. The loss of lives is a tragic reminder of the potential consequences of unresolved conflicts within our nation. These clashes threaten to plunge us back into a dark and unsettling chapter of our history, marked by inter-community fighting. Yet, this is 2023. We cannot afford to regress into a cycle of violence. The government and its security agencies have a responsibility to intervene swiftly and decisively to bring an end to this turmoil. Why would we be so ready to send a significant number of police officers to maintain peace in a foreign land while a crisis rages within our own borders? Isn't the protection of every Kenyan citizen, regardless of their location or community, a fundamental priority for our government? Let us remember that the right to life is a sacred principle enshrined in our Constitution, and that those in positions of authority must fulfill their duty to protect and defend it without any excuses. We also appeal to the communities in the affected region to exercise restraint and refrain from engaging in further violence. These communities have coexisted peacefully for generations, and it is essential to preserve this harmony. Our leaders also bear a significant responsibility in these trying times. Their words have the power to either heal and restore or incite and aggravate. We call upon our leaders to use their influence to promote peace and reconciliation. Now, as we grapple with this unfortunate situation, let us remember the words of our national anthem. O God of all creation, bless these our land